Hello, hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here today. I am interviewing my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Paula C. Perez, about her new revised book, Delayed, Not Denied: How I Became My Best on My Journey to Love and Marriage. Let me tell you real quick about Dr. Paula. Dr. Paula C. Perez is a #1 best-selling author, educator, speaker, and coach who empowers single Christian women to love themselves and embrace their season of singleness on their journey to love and marriage. A Seton Hall graduate with over 30 years of educational expertise, Dr. Paula shares her ultimate love story in her memoir, Delayed, Not Denied: How I Became My Best on My Journey to Love and Marriage. It's a story of family, faith, perseverance, transformation, and hope. It is a powerful, powerful book. I've had the opportunity to read it myself, and it is just something that will encourage and inform you. And Dr. Paula, welcome, welcome.
Thank
So
you
good
so
to have
much,
you
Laura.
here.
It's good to be here. So excited
So
for this time.
I'm excited to interview you about your book, and let's just dive right in. I would love to know what inspired you originally to share your personal journey and the lessons, and then also, revision to have this new beautiful book, Delayed, Not Denied.
Well, thank you. I would say that the gem of this book, the genesis of it was during COVID. We lost a lot of people in our church circles during that time. And I remember thinking, oh my God, what if I die? Who's going to tell my story? And I knew a lot of people did not know my story. And I never birthed any children. I always used to say before I got married that I was mother to none, yet mother to all, because I've always been involved with children, youth, pouring into the lives of others. But during COVID, I turned 60 in 1961. And I said, okay, Lord, before I turn 62, I want to write this book. So it was during that year that the Lord allowed me to pen this memoir. And I finished 3 days before my birthday. So that in itself was a
Wow.
blessing. Yeah. As I was writing, I did it as part of a writing group. And I remember before I launched the book feeling like, oh, I'm not sure if this title is going to resonate with everyone. The original title was 49-Year-Old Virgin, Delayed, Not Denied. And I remember thinking, I'm not sure, but I asked the people that I thought were the experts, and they said, no, you should keep it. There's a movie that's out that has a similar name.
Oh,
Now, I never saw the movie and still haven't. And what I had found is I don't want to be associated with that movie. So, in the last year, I've really been praying about it and talking with close friends about my feelings. And I finally followed my own advice because I really believe when you have that gut feeling, that intuition, the spirit of God speaking to you saying, do something, listen. So that's what erasers are for. So on this year, I erased the title and renamed it Delayed, Not Denied: How I Became My Best on My Journey to Love and Marriage. And I'm excited to share with you the lessons that I learned on my path to love and marriage.
what inspired you to share your personal journey though with the world? Like, we all have stories, right? We all grew up, and you and I have talked in the past. We have a lot
Similar.
in common.
That's for sure.
I haven't written a book about my life. What inspired you to write this book?
We're living in a time where I believe many, especially of our young people, are really feeling the pressure from society to date and to do relationships in a certain way. We're
Mhm.
living in the reality TV era where the more drama, the better, number one. And I just watching the young people, I have some nieces and nephews that are of dating age. And my desire was to let them know we do not have to follow the pattern of the world in order to find a successful, long lasting, loving relationship.
Mm.
And not that I did it perfectly. God knows I made a lot of mistakes. And when you read the book, you'll read about some of the stupid things that I did. But the Lord knew the intention of my heart, and my desire truly was to please Him in my area of dating and relationship and in the choice of my mate. And I think, in fact, one of my nieces came to me after the book wrote. I wrote the book and said, "You know, Aunt Paula, I'm still a virgin, but I don't ever say anything to my friends because I don't want them to ridicule me." And the fact that we're living in a time where people feel they need to keep the fact that they are doing it your way and saving themselves for marriage, that it's a area of shame for a lot of people. And I just wanted the young people and old alike to know that it still pays to do things God's way. And I know, there are people that unfortunately have had situations where their virginity has been taken away. Perhaps they were been molested as a child, or God forbid, raped, or whatever the situation. But even through the trauma of that type of loss and pain, it still pays to do things God's way. And, I share many stories within this memoir, and some of them are family stories. And I really believe there's something for everyone in there. One of my family members experienced something very traumatic, but she was determined to do things God's way and was able, with the help of the Lord, to make lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that because I know that in the book, you discuss some pretty personal challenges that have happened, not just with you, but also with extended family, with your, ancestors,
Mhm.
and including intimate partner violence and discrimination. And so, what was it that kind of brought you to open up about those topics as well?
Mhm. Because of my story, I felt like some people may poo poo it because I truly have been blessed. I can't say a lot of bad things have happened to me, but
Right.
I certainly have come from a family tree where a whole lot of things have happened. And one of the themes of the story is transformation. And I
Mm.
want people to know that through a relationship with Jesus Christ, He can change your family legacy. And that certainly was the case in my story. But to
Mm.
appreciate where I arrived, I thought it was important to lay the groundwork with some of the history of my ancestors and some of the things that they were able to survive and come out on the other side.
Well, let me ask you this then. Considering that there is some sensitive content in the book, how do you recommend that parents or mentors would use this book
Mhm.
to guide young adults in understanding healthy relationships?
Well, each parent knows their child best. I'm an educator by trade, and I will always encourage parents to be actively involved in the education of their children because, after all, they are their first teachers. And it is a message that I believe our teenagers need to read and to hear and to know what the possibilities are. So I encourage parents, and in fact, in the copyright of the book, I talk about the trigger warnings and
Mm.
share the chapters that may be sensitive. But I encourage parents, counselors, teachers, whomever is recommending this book to a young person, to read it alongside them and
Mhm.
help them to navigate those sensitive areas. And many times we feel like, oh, our teenagers, they can't handle it. Let me tell you, I was the principal at an elementary school And my 4 and 5 year olds, the things that they've been exposed to, even at that tender age,
Yeah.
would blow our socks off. So it's not that they haven't heard it, but I really think it's important that, first of all, parents, you take your rightful place. You are the ones that are supposed to be teaching your children about sexuality, about sex, about the rules and regulations, the things that they should use to govern their life. I certainly hope that you are basing it on biblical principles, but it is up to parents to parent. And I think that this book will aid you in that. In fact, in the back of the book, I have tips for parents on how to use the material in ways that you can have conversations with your own children.
I love that because as the parent of a young adult, I remember trying to find the right way to have those difficult conversations. Well, it was difficult because I was so uncomfortable with it. Uh, but necessary, right? To have these conversations. And I think that your book, the way that you have woven your family story through your memoir and how you shared your different experiences really does open the door for conversations around all kinds of things. So even if you're not doing it as a parent, but maybe you're like in a singles ministry, maybe you're the singles ministry director or something like that, and you want to take your group through this book, it's going to, you're going to have plenty of different topics that you can talk about, everything from, like you said, there is a little bit of information about like intimate partner violence, but there's also information about online dating and online relationships and just navigating all of that. So I love that. I want to ask you, what are some key faith-based lessons that you're hoping readers will take away from your story?
Mhm. The major one is that doing things God's way is still the best way. As I said earlier, so many times we feel the pressure that society has placed. And many people just assume that everybody is having sex outside of marriage. And that
Yeah.
certainly is not the case. So the benefit of doing things according God's to God's plan is so important. And one of the things I share in there is that love is not about getting. Love is not about getting, it's about giving. And when someone loves you, they're willing to put aside their own quote unquote needs, per se. And when we are able to love in a sacrificial way, and I'm not saying that we should be a doormat. In fact, that message is very loud and clear in the book that you need to know who you are. You need to love yourself, be
Yeah.
confident in who you are, and stand on that. And the person that is for you will accept you for all that you bring to the table. And that was one of the challenges I had. I have a doctorate. I've had years of education. I've done well in both the business arena. I worked at IBM for almost 10 years, and then education as well. And I knew I needed to find someone or be found by someone that could handle all of Paula, because Paula's a lot. Paula is a lot. But when you find your purpose partner, when you find that guy that really sees you for you, and not where you've got to play dumb, where you have to play small, but where you can truly be yourself. That is so, so important because God's put us on this planet for a purpose. And the person that is for us will align with that mission and we'll be better together as a
Yeah.
result.
Well, I can testify to so much of what you're sharing, Dr. Paula, from waiting until marriage and finding someone who just loves you for who you are. And I remember one time when I was the last one I'm the oldest in my family.
Yep.
and the last one to get married. And anyway, sorry, my brain, because family history, it's so complex, isn't it?
Yes,
Um,
it
but
is.
anyway, I was just thinking about this one time when I came home from seminary, and my dad was he said, "Do you go out looking like that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, well, no wonder." And it was like, "Well, you need to put makeup on, or and it was always like this idea of what I needed to do,
Mm,
to like find this person.
exactly.
And the person that God had for me couldn't care less if I wear
Mhm.
makeup. And I love that about
Yes,
that man. You
exactly.
know, and he supports me in what I do. And I think that just putting this out there to say it's okay to wait. Like, you
Yes.
don't have to rush. I mean,
Don't
because there's so
settle,
much
ladies,
pressure.
don't settle. Yes, don't
There's so
settle.
much pressure to hurry up and get married, or move in together, or, whatever,
Mm,
circles you're in. There's so much pressure to hurry up and get it done that you could end up with the wrong person. And I mean,
exactly.
it happens,
It
and
sure
people
does.
do end up with the wrong people, and sometimes it ends in divorce. And
Mm,
then and I know that you work with a variety of single Christian women in your
mm,
coaching business. And
I
so I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about just how your experiences and what you share in this book also, kind of weaves into the work that you do in your coaching business, helping women become their best, right? Isn't because
exactly.
this is your story, but
Mhm,
you're also committed to helping single women
exactly.
become their best in
Mhm.
their journey to love and marriage. And
You
so can
got
you
that
talk a
right.
little bit about that, and how this all kind of weaves in
Mhm,
together with
mhm.
your passion?
Definitely. For those that have not read the book yet, what are you waiting for? But the book is not a how-to book. It really reads like a novel. Very, very fast read. Fast readers can get it done in about 3.5 hours. It's
And there's an audiobook.
yep, we have an audiobook that you can access as well. But the book provides a sense of hope to so many women, and not just women, men as well. I can't tell you how many men have taken the time to call me, to write me, to share what a blessing the book has been to them. And the book for me is a jumping off point for my coaching business. I do work with singles, never married, divorced, and widowed, who desire to journey again to marriage. And some of them had wonderful relationships and want to repeat that. But then there's others that have not been successful in love and marriage, and their desire is to do it right this time. So
Mhm.
I aid them. I build my coaching around a 4-step framework. And STEP is an acronym which stands for show self love, trust in the Lord, and some people say a higher power, but it's important that my clients know that my foundation is Christ. The importance of E, enriching others, and the P in STEP stands for pursuing your purpose. And so many people don't even know what their purpose is. So, how do you know whether this guy is right for you if you don't know why God has placed you on this earth?
Mm.
So I work with the women to really fully understand who they are, to embrace who they are, and to know why God has assigned them to this specific time and space, because all of it is for a reason. And through a variety of one on one coaching experiences. And one thing I love about the way I do it is really customized to each woman, because no two people are totally alike. And there are different things that we need to unpack, different things that they may need to heal from or to discover about themselves. And in the space of our one on one coaching experiences, we have an opportunity to delve deeply so that they can come out on the other side confident, knowing who they are, loving who they are. And I believe in doing so, that's what enables them to attract the right type of people. Because a lot of times, if we are approaching relationships from broken spaces, we tend to attract the same thing, broken people.
Mm,
So I'm just grateful. I've seen the transformation that has happened in the lives of the women that I've worked with. And it's just so exciting to be a
yeah.
part of that process.
Well, I was going to say, you've actually worked with women who are single to help them like everything you just talked about isn't theoretical. It's
Mhm.
actually you've done it. This is
Yes.
what you do, and you're so passionate about it. And I
Mhm.
wonder, the experiences that you've had coaching, your own experiencing finding your purpose partner, and a wonderful man, John Perez.
Yes.
I wonder, are you thinking about writing another book?
Oh.
And if so, what would, what would that be about if you
Mm.
were thinking about something like that?
Well, I'm working on a couple of different projects now. There is a book uh, in my memoir. My now husband, John, asked me, how in the world were you able to keep yourself? I got married when I was 49, and he just never knew anyone in the church or out of the church that was able to remain celibate.
Mm,
But God was able to do that for me. So I'm working on a devotional
okay.
that will enable single people in particular to work through the Word of God and some reflective activities to really hone this area of their life and to make sure they are on track for what God wants them to have in their life. I'm also working on a workbook to go along with the memoir,
Okay.
and it's called Delayed Not Denied, a Christian Relationship Guide. And
Okay.
I'm hoping to have that out by the end of the first quarter next year. So there are a lot of things coming. My dad is pushing me to write educational books. So that may be on the horizon as well. I've had 30 plus years in education, and I'm still very passionate about young people. So I may do something around that as well. So we're just open to whatever God says to do. And my answer is yes, Lord.
Well, I love that because you are living out your purpose with your purpose partner,
Yes.
that you really, you never gave up. That's the thing that I think is just really inspiring about your story. I was single for a long time, but not quite that long. That's a long time. I
Yes, it
mean,
is.
it was a lot when I finally got married. I was almost 29, and that was like unheard of in my family. All of my siblings were married and had kids before they were 21.
Mm,
And same with my mom. My mom had me when she was 21. So being 29, and also same thing, like looking for someone that I could do life with, being 49. And it's not so much about the age as much as it is about what God is doing in your life
mhm.
in the waiting, in the waiting time, right? I mean, for me, wait was a four-letter word. Well, it still is technically, you know, but that we're not supposed to just sit on our rear ends waiting. We're supposed to be working on becoming our best selves. And
Amen.
I wonder what kind of feedback you've received from readers on your book, because this is a revised version. The other version has been out for a while now. What
For
kind of
2 years.
feedback have you gotten from people?
One of the major things is that it is possible. It helped to inspire the women and the men and to restore a sense of hope. Because as you said, waiting is hard.
It is hard.
Waiting
Yeah.
is hard. And even in my own journey, there were times when I said, well, maybe I didn't hear you right, Lord. I thought I was supposed to get married, but maybe I'm not supposed to get married. So I did go through a season where I really felt that way. especially for Black women. First of all, we are the most uncoupled people in the world. There's 47.8% of Black women are single, and
Mm,
many of us have never been married. And
mm,
the more education you have, the more likely it
yeah.
is that that's going to be your story. So when I got my doctorate, I was like, okay, Lord, I have just narrowed the dating pool again. So I dealt with that, and people that have read the book said that it definitely restored their hope in the
Mm,
process. There were some that said, "Ah, what a beautiful love story. I wish I had," and then they'd fill in the blank. So, whether you've been married, whether you are in search of a mate, whether you have already married and you're in a unhappy marriage, there's really something in this for everyone. And I'm excited about what God is doing in this book and through this book for those that read it. And it is really engaging. I see you have a friend on here, Henry Burrell. He said hi to you,
oh,
Miss
hey,
Lily.
Henry. Yes. Yeah,
Henry's out there.
he runs Jonesboro Business Association down in, I think you got to help me out here, Alabama. It's either Alabama or Arkansas. I can't remember. But
So
how
good.
wonderful. Yeah, this is so great. And Dr. Paula, I think your book for me, it's just it's such a good reminder of, in a way, I was saying, like, you never gave up on your dream of getting married. I know we all go through these phases, especially, those who were single much longer than they thought they would be, where you just kind of are like, like you said, did I hear right? I don't know.
Exactly.
Um, but I also want to just point out, and I know this is throughout your book, God never gives up on us.
Amen.
Never
Amen.
gives up
Amen.
on us.
Exactly. And
That
let me
God is faithful. Yeah, go ahead.
definitely let me also just say that I share other stories where I had to wait. I
Mm,
share a story about my very first job and how I got that job. And it's something, faith is an action word. And when you believe something, it causes you to move into action. So I share a couple of stories in this book that have nothing to do with relationships, but it talks about knowing God's voice, being able to hear God's voice, and to take action, even when it doesn't look like it's going to work. And I'm thinking about two stories in particular. One in regards to, well, actually, two in terms of jobs. And I have to admit, there was a time when I looked up into the sky and said, Lord, I know you have a plan for my life, but would you give me a clue? There's so much, so much was happening that I did not think would happen. But God is faithful. God is faithful. And we've got to trust that his timing is right. If there's a delay in your life, and perhaps it's not over relationships, perhaps there's a delay because you desire to have a child of your own.
mm,
Perhaps there's a delay because you want a promotion on your job, or perhaps there's a delay. You feel called to a certain type of ministry and the doors just have not opened yet.
yeah.
Remember, God has a plan, and part of that plan is process. God is working on us to be able to receive and to be in the right space, the right time, the right headspace for whatever He has assigned for us to do. And I want to encourage each of you on today to trust God, trust His timing, and believe that if it's for you, it's for you. Doesn't matter what anybody says, what God has for you is for you.
Yeah. Well, I think this is just, it's been so exciting to just talk with you about your amazing book. I think it's beautiful. You're beautiful. And I just love the focus on delayed, not denied, that
Amen.
there is this promise that, and in a way, it reminds me of the verse that says that the Lord will give you the desires of your heart.
Psalms 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord.
Delight yourself in the Lord,
He will give you the
and He'll
desires of
give you
your
the desires of your heart.
heart.
And
International version. Amen.
how many times did I hold on to that promise, wad up that promise and throw it down and go, but, and then to really be on the other side of it and say, yeah, actually, He really does. He really
Amen.
does.
Amen.
And so I just want to encourage anyone who is here, who's interested. And again, like you said, yes, the book is your memoir. It is a love story. But it's so much more than that. And that's why I love the title. I love the new title. I love it because it is so much more than just saving yourself for marriage. It's
Amen.
about, what do you do when you're waiting and waiting and waiting and
Amen.
waiting? What
Amen.
do you do? How can you still honor God? How can you still how can you exercise your trust, your faith? Like you said, faith is a verb, and I'm a Greek nerd,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
really is literally a verb. There is
Amen.
no noun. It's like your faith thing. It's
Yeah.
not something that you have, it's something that you do. And so how do you live that out
Mhm.
in the time that you're waiting for whatever it is that you're waiting on?
Amen.
Because what we do know is that God's timing, like you said, God's timing is perfect. And so if it's not happening now, what we don't want to do is rush it. We
That's right.
don't want to put our timeline and our agenda on it. And we were even talking about this a few days ago, you and I, in a conversation about, because that's a lesson I learned a really long time ago, is that when you have these roadblocks that come up, yes, we strong-willed women can sometimes push right through every obstacle because we just want to keep going forward. But sometimes we have to slow down and
Amen.
really pay attention to what God is doing in that moment, because it's for our protection and it's for the perfect timing, so that when we do whatever it is, or we finally meet that person, it's the right timing and it's the
Exactly.
right person. And it doesn't mean that everything is, roses and butterflies and daisies and all of that, but it does mean that we can have the confidence that we're with the right person. And so it's
Amen.
worth working through. Yeah.
Amen.
So
And
I'm going to put up the link. Go
I
ahead.
just want you all to know, in the corner of our screen is our logo, Yana. It's pronounced Yana, and it's an acronym which means you are not alone, but it also means God is gracious. And I want you all to know, along this journey, it's my desire to be your guide on the side as you journey from love to marriage.
Well, I love that. And I just want to thank you again. I put up the link to your coaching website in case anyone's interested in working with you or talking with you more. I know that you do like a 30-minute free consultation with people to see if it's something that makes sense for you to work together. So I put that up there. And then I also am going to put up again the link to your book. You can purchase it on Amazon.com. It's in all the different formats. And you can see all of her other books and resources and follow her so that when the new books come out, you automatically get notified. And Dr. Paula, I'm so grateful for this time that we had together this morning to just do an interview about your new book. And I'm just excited to walk alongside of you as you are sharing this with the world, and being able to witness some of the transformations that you're working with the women